You're going
stole
gambling
them,
again.
yeah, or you took money out of our children's
They did.
mouth.
They did take the money. They did steal.
And so a big issue around recovery is trust. Is that person going to do it again? And how can I trust you? How do I know
What percentage
that
of people that get in gambling and try and get out go back in? High recidivism?
Well, it depends on what you mean by go back in.
Do it again. Get back into gambling and burn more money.
Relapse once and have one event where they spend a few dollars and then they come back to treatment. Oh, I made a mistake. I would say that there are a lot of those people. Not all, but
More than
certainly, yeah, probably.
You know, the challenge with gambling is that it's everywhere. It's not like I'm just going to say no to a drug or to alcohol. It's inculcated into our culture. It's socially acceptable, but it's not.
To some. There are religious groups and others in America that are against gambling.
Absolutely, but there are also religious groups that also have bingo, and that's how they make their money to cover their costs.
Of course, they say bingo's not gambling.
But it is.
Raffles.
Raffles. When you go to a fundraiser, take a look around and see what's there. So for a gambler, you're tempted 24/7. It's not enough to say I'm not going to go buy a bottle.
That's
or,
right.
you know.
Back to the family.
Yes.
You've got the wife who's gambling. You say have a non-accusatory conversation with her. Well, if you're not going to say, hey, you just spent our money, which is what most people would say, you know, why did you do this? What are you supposed to say?
You have an illness. It's just like having a cold or having any other illness, and you want to approach it in that manner.
The gambling addict doesn't want to think they have a sickness. They want to think they just had a little bad luck, honey. I'll do better next time.
They know. After a certain point, they know, and they're starting to get desperate.
So they know?
Well, yes, they do.
So
yes,
let's just say you're going to lose your house. You know, that could happen. Somebody could go and forge signatures of their spouse, get an equity line that's too large. And how do you get out of those kinds of problems?
We have support for people through credit counseling. You know, I mean, it's
credit counseling like any other credit problem.
Like any other credit problem. We do not advocate that somebody goes bankrupt. We believe that part of the process for recovery is to facing your issues and making good on your debts.
But there might be instances where bankruptcy is the only rational choice.
Well, I think that if you take a look at the bankruptcy statistics, the first reason why people go bankrupt is medical issues. The second is gambling. So
really?
there are a number of bankruptcies that are attributed to gambling. We just don't advocate that that is the road to take.
Do the families that have a gambling addict ever trust that gambling addict again financially? I mean, I can picture it would be very difficult in a marriage when somebody has thrown away $100,000 to trust that individual financially again. How does that work?
There is a way that couples can rebuild the trust, but the whole issue of gambling has to be open and honest and right out on the table. All right? The gambler has to say, you can't trust me with that. Please don't. Okay? I don't trust me with that. Don't you? All right? And the spouse has to say, honey, I'm not comfortable with you taking the checkbook today.
Given all that we've talked about, and this is serious addiction, it has a
Yes,
lot
it
in
is.
common with some of the drug addictions.
Oh, yes, it is.
Perhaps with the difference that the judgment of the individual is not impaired to the same degree, and there isn't the physiological element that you might see with heroin, for instance. But otherwise, it looks pretty similar.
Well, Mary has looked into research where there is a physiological change.
Part of it. Yeah.
A major part of it. And Mary can describe what happens to somebody's brain.
They have been doing a lot of work at the Cleveland Clinic with PET scans. A PET scan is sort of an X-ray of the brain that shows which parts of the brain are active by measuring the heat. All right. They are doing some work in Philadelphia that is looking at what happens to the brain when it's affected by the addiction. The first thing that happens in an addiction is a person is triggered. Something sets them to thinking about their addiction. going and doing their addiction or going and gambling. All right, it's a thought, it's a mental process. Inside a PET scan, you will find a normal picture of a brain. They introduce a trigger, and the entire brain lights up like a Christmas tree. You actually have a whole different brain with a different set of values. Okay.
So it's not the standard mentality then.
No, it isn't.
Right.
Interesting point.
And many gamblers will say that they're two different people.
Wow.
They experience themselves, I'm like this, I don't know why I do this.
Let's say you want to drive a car or a motorcycle. You have to go and take some training and get a little license. Do you think that the answer here is for everybody who gambles to go through some kind of gambling addiction training? I mean, how do you catch this in the early stages? I mean, is it something where you think one of the solutions is training for everyone on gambling addictions?
Well, certainly New York State is really working towards having every mental health and substance abuse counselor cross-trained in gambling addiction. We believe that this gambling is where substance abuse and alcohol was 20 or 25 years ago. We believe that education is a priority. We have to educate consumers, we have to educate kids. I mean, kids are gambling at an alarming rate for fun.
Well, they can't get into a casino.
No, but they have Friday night poker games in their basements that are supported with the family, the mother buying the pizza.
Well, hey, it's on TV.
It's on TV. And so, you know, I would
World
like,
champions.
I'm working towards having a little disclaimer. You know, gambling is hazardous to your health, or it can be.
Doctor,
also
speak
go
to
online.
our audience again in our few remaining minutes about the need to reach out for help and the process of help.
The one thing that gamblers really feel when they are at the bottom is the isolation and total defeat. And the only way to get help is to reach out and ask for it, or go someplace, tell someone, call a crisis hotline, okay?
And the crisis hotline here again is?
Well, our phone number is 716-883-1914.
Okay.
Okay. We also in Buffalo have a crisis services runs a hotline 24/7. They pick up that phone and they call a counselor who is trained to deal with crisis, and they will talk with them and talk them through. Okay. Report yourself to any emergency room in a hospital for mental health help.
If you're in a crisis situation.
If you're going to kill yourself or you're thinking of suicide, you must reach out to someone. Call your pastor. Call a friend.
Thanks again to the Jewish Family Service for providing this help today. Fascinating story on gambling addiction. If you're addicted, reach out for help. It's Medical Matters. See you again soon. For more Medical Matters television shows, go online to medicalmatters.tv.